All right, and we're live. So, welcome to another Run Wild with Us, Ask Us Anything. I am Lisa Kastner, and I am the founder and executive editor of Running Wild and Rise Presses, and I am here with you on Thursdays between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Typically, I'm here with a couple of our incredible um acquisition editors. And the whole purpose of us being here is to answer whatever dang questions you might have. It can be about publishing, it can be about the business of publishing, it could be the business of writing, it could be about the craft of writing, it could be why, I don't know, whatever you want. Why do we exist? Why does anyone exist? Who knows? But you can ask us whatever the heck you want. Why is Lisa wearing a Kittyzilla t-shirt? Well, this is technically, it could be my cat. It's not, but it could. And now I'm here with Ben.
I just got here right in time. Why does anybody exist?
I know this existential kind of conceptual questioning. It has to happen.
Yeah,
And I did your book got your most recent poetry publication. It got more accolades, huh?
it did.
Ooh. Now,
Yeah,
was that
let's
a
see.
surprise?
Well, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a surprise to me, but hot dang. Woo-hoo.
There was what did it get the God is an Atheist got a silver literary Titan Silver Book Award. That's what it was.
Nice.
Yes,
Yes.
we'll
That
take
is
it.
awesome. We will absolutely take it. That is fabulous.
Thank you.
Hot dang. Ew. Hot dang. Awesome. Um, Marguerite Buchanan says, "Hey, Ben and Lisa, Harris Waltz 2024." Oh my gosh. That's a whole
That's three exclamation points.
that is.
I may have to add some more.
Yes, you absolutely may. You absolutely may. And so, we are going to get Peter. He messaged me and let me know that he's just going to be a little late. So we will have him present. So how are you? What have you been up to? What's shaking?
Oh, we just wrapped up the summer semester, so now I've got some free time. Though we got
Cool.
the NFG book under control with
Woohoo!
a with a vision.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna split it and because it came in at 150,000 words.
Oh, good Lord. No, that needs to
Yeah,
be two
so we're gonna
books.
split it into two parts, and I'm thinking something like outside the wire for part one, and then part two would be incoming rounds or something like that.
Got it. Oh, neat.
Yeah, I'll bounce.
That's
I got to
kind of
bounce
cool.
that off Tim and see what he
Okay,
thinks.
got it. Did you get my email about the concept someone came up with?
The taglines.
No. So we've had a couple of the authors who wrote for our Cure anthology, the short stories based on the world
Oh
of
yeah,
Cure.
I'm looking
And
at
we've
that now. The
okay.
sample chapters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've
Yeah.
had a couple of guys come back and say, "Would you mind if I wrote like a full-length novel in that world, based on how, lycanthropes and all that are represented, and all the new mythology, I guess you could say, that we created or that we piggybacked on."
Yeah.
And so one guy actually came back with an actual book proposal and some sample chapters. So I thought it was pretty good, and so I wanted to pass it by you. I wanted to get your 10 cents as well.
I've,
But
I've got it. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but
okay,
I do have it.
awesome. Yeah, it's I mean, we've had, I'd say, like 2 or 3 folks come back asking if it would be cool for them to do a submission for that. So, um it's pretty exciting that the concepts everyone's coming back with. So it's very cool.
Yeah. Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
And how cool to see it grow.
Right? Totally.
Yeah.
And Caroline says, "Hey guys." CJ says, "Good evening from rainy PA." Hey CJ, the remains of the hurricane are coming through tonight and tomorrow. Well, fingers crossed. There's not going to be any massive damage from the hurricane. Absolutely. Oh, and Margaret says, "Hey Caroline." Well, our regulars, we got to stick together. I mean, that's just how it works. So, um, what was it? Oh, so, but yeah, this week I gave some, I guess you could say, rather significant feedback for one of the uh, books that we've been working on, and so she's going to go off and work on that. It's probably take her a couple of months, and then I finished going over all of the submissions. And as soon as I said that, like we got 6 more. So, for anyone who's watching, we will be going over all of the full-length submissions the end of September. So, if you have sent us something, you will hear from us by the end of September, because that is one thing we're good about. We may take a long time to get to the point where we're actually reviewing all the submissions, but when we do, I mean, we knock it out, right?
We clear it out.
We clear it out. So, and we're gonna do our best that if we decline something, we'll tell you why, right? It won't just be, or it shouldn't just be oh well, tough noogies, have a good life. Usually if we have some feedback in terms of narrative or in terms of craft or whatever, then we'll give you that feedback. So, just to be aware. And also to be aware is in the past, we all, and I completely own that I am the leader of this. We get so many amazing stories, like no joke. We get some of the most phenomenal works from anything from, completely newbies to like huge New York Times best-selling, award-winning authors, right? That sometimes it's really hard to say no. But our goal, because like in 2025, it looks like at this juncture, we're going to probably be publishing around 45 books. For a small press, that is a hell of a lot of books. This year we published, I think it was like 32 or 34, something like that. So the ones that we are going to go over at the end of September, that's a lot. I mean, seriously, it has been a lot. For the ones that if we accept them the end of September, most likely they're not going to get published until at least the beginning of 2026. Just be aware of that, because our distributor typically cuts off acceptance for the next year, the subsequent year. Usually it's around September 1st for it to be sent in. So, and I know that sounds like a really long time away, but if you think about it, if we accept the book in the beginning of September or the end of September, that means you're probably not going to get an editor until sometime in October. And then if we start working on it with you sometime in October, and by the way, if we accept 15 each, let's say, right? So 15 for Running Wild and 15 for Rise, that's 30 total. Usually I want to say we typically cycle through about 5 at a time. So you may not get assigned an editor immediately. It may be a little while. But then once we do, right, it may take a month, it may take 5 months. We won't go into NFG.
150,000 words.
Yeah, it's 150,000 words. It takes a while. But anyway, it'll most likely be published in 2026. So again, I know it sounds like a long time from now, but if you look at that timeline, it's not as wickedly long as it sounds. But anyway, so I got through almost all of them. As soon as right now I'm writing a short story for an anthology that benefits fighting human trafficking, and it's actually also in the world of cure. So I might pitch it to you just for you to go over it. And well, you're an amazing editor, but you're also great at dummy checking. Like, Lisa, you said this before. He can't, he's got purple hair now, and before he had green hair. Like, what the hell? So
Yeah, that's what keeps me up at night.
right?
When you go from green hair to purple hair.
It's totally as it should. So yeah, I've just been like just trying to work through all that. Caroline says, I have a novel. Margaret says, my book is slated for fall 2025. Hell yeah. Woohoo. And Caroline says, I have a novel I'm still working on. Is it going to be too late if I submit it in another 3 weeks? Feels like it might be too late. Well, what is today? Today is
August 8th.
so let's say, Caroline, if you got it in, I'd say if you can get it in by September 1st, that would be best. I'm sorry, I'm just looking up when we're actually going to be doing this. Our review is currently slated for September 25th. So I'm just going to suggest, if you would like us to review it, your work, for it to be, and when I say work, I'm focusing on full-length works right now, right?
Yeah.
Short stories and novellas are a whole different thing, and Ben and I can speak to those respectively.
Yeah.
But if you've got a full-length work you either have sent to us or you want to send to us, my request is do your best to have it in to us by at least, say, September 5th. That way it gives us enough time for each one of us to go through them individually and, mark them, with a thumbs up, thumbs down, a maybe, whatever the case may be, in preparation for our review session. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't look at it if we get it after that. It just means you're giving us more time to really do a more intelligent review of it. So it has a lesser chance of possibly being just haphazardly rejected, right? So,
be fair
but
to your work.
exactly, we will be more fair to your work, absolutely. And it's less likely that it'll be a Friday night and I'll be chugging down a Menage a Trois red wine, and slightly inebriated while I'm trying to knock them out. So okay,
That's an automatic maybe.
it's an automatic maybe. Exactly. Who knows? Margaret says, patience is needed. I signed October 2022 and my pub date is fall 2025. It's worth the wait. Oh, thank you so much, Margaret. Yes, guys. I mean, and I like back to my point earlier of our overeagerness of having so many fabulous, amazing stories sent to us. I want to, the last time we had an acquisition session, Ben, what was it, like 2 years ago? I guess it was, right? It must have been 2022. And
What, 23?
I don't know. If we did, maybe we had a mini one in 2023. I know we had a strategy session in 2023.
Yeah.
But because we're small but mighty, we really have, I want to say, like 5 editors who work with us really regularly. And that's like Cody, Peter, Ben, myself.
Mhm.
And then we have, I want to say, around 10 who kind of cycle through, like as they're available. They'll reach out to us and let us know, like, hey, I'm available. I'd love to work on something. And I'll send them a couple of different works that we've already signed contracts with, and to see if they're interested. So for us, that's important, right? We want to make sure that the editor that you work with is someone who's actually really interested in your story and they want to help you elevate it, right? and they want to work on it, versus like if you work with some houses, when they submit, if you submit a story to them, you're just, whoever the editor is that's available, they'll take it and they work on it. It doesn't mean that they understand it. It doesn't mean that they like it. It doesn't mean any of that. And I know that may sound and here's Peter.
Hey guys.
Awesome to see you.
Yes.
I'm just explaining the difference between like a standard publishing house's process for bringing on board an editor or assigning an editor, and our process.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating.
Well, I don't know if it's fascinating, but hopefully people aren't falling asleep. But like one of the reasons that we do that, and in all honesty, the whole reason why that's our process is, meaning like after we've accepted a work and we'll send it to an editor who we think might be interested in working on it. And then if they say they're not interested, we don't assign, we send it to another one of our editors. And if they are interested in it, then that's when you get the partnership. And we also ask our authors, is there an editor you want to work with? Right? Because we actually do have a following, and we do have some people who sign with us because they want to work with specific editors. So, we want to make sure that if you do have that desire, if there is someone you really want to work with, that you do get that opportunity. So, I'll read these in a minute. Some of these are pretty hilarious. Margaret's like on it tonight. This is awesome. Anyway, but the reason that we actually have that's our approach to assigning an editor and like connecting them with an author, is because like I've been around this industry for like, gosh, oh my God, 30 years. Okay, let's pretend I didn't say that, right? Let's pretend.
You started when you were 3.
I started when I was 3 years old. And I've known so many authors who worked with well, I was going to say mainstream houses, and I know that that's true, but I'm sure this happens as well with some mid-size and small houses. They'll get assigned an editor and the editor just doesn't understand it, right? Like they literally just don't get the concept of the book that they're editing. And so when the author gets the feedback and the editor's like, why, well, this, you can't do this, and you can't do this, and you can't do this, and this has to be completely redone, blah blah blah. Most authors are pretty open, right? Like if the feedback makes sense, then they're usually pretty open to making the changes or minimally working with the editor on, okay, so how can we do this, right? And then like brainstorming out different ways that whatever was identified could be actually implemented. And a lot of there are a lot of houses historically that if you're assigned an editor, that's it. You got to do what that editor says. And so if you've got an editor who they just literally don't get it, it doesn't benefit you, it doesn't benefit your work, and at the end of the day, it doesn't benefit the reader, and it doesn't benefit the whoever it is that's going to consume your work. So that's why we have that process. So I hope that made sense.
So you think the editors at the big publishing houses are trying to shove the novel that they're working on into a particular format that's worked in the past, like a category that they've used before, kind of thing?
I'll be honest. I think a lot of times it's more. I mean, that could be, and if that's what's happening, I think it's not happening consciously. It's more of a limited exposure to other formats.
Right.
I think a lot the most frequent time I've heard of this happening, it has not been with an editor who was well known and like, really well respected in the industry. It was usually with someone who, at least as far as I'm aware, was more junior, hadn't actually done a lot of longer works. They weren't necessarily really exposed to a lot of different titles. And so to your point, you know, they're trying to fit it into what they're most familiar with.
Right. They know what they
And
know.
they know what they know. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's like, it's not an intentional, haha, I'm going to screw you, right? It's a, hey, I've only been around for, 2.5 seconds. This is what I know. I mean, I'm passionate about what I know, but I'm not, I don't know how to do this. Right. And some publishers, like if you encounter that, they will reassign you an editor, right? But there are others that they just can't do that. They just don't have the resources to do that. So you kind of, it's like you get what you get, if that makes sense.
Cool.
So Caroline says, besides as an editor, I only want Ben.
Everybody wants Ben.
I know, right? And she says, or you, Lisa, or Brittany Bell, or Peter. Don't forget.
I didn't make
Peter.
the top 3, did I? No.
Dude, I'm like, how could you miss Peter?
You just weren't here yet.
This man edits like award-winning stuff, like best of the year. You can't miss Peter. Come on. So just saying.
Yeah, I want Peter.
Right? I want Peter. CJ says, I enjoyed working with Amy on my May 2025 release. She is so awesome. I agree. Amy is fantastic. And by the way, Amy Hardy, for those of you who may not know, so Amy Hardy's book, Pocket Full of Teeth, that we have coming out this year in September, it actually got a starred review from Kirkus. And I just got an email today from our distributor that it's going to be one of the featured titles and recommended titles for books from small presses for Halloween. So that,
awesome.
right? That is huge. And Amy doesn't even know this yet. So if she's watching, you can kill me later because I didn't tell you yet. But because I was waiting until I actually got the link to the post about it, like, hey, what books do our sales reps represent, right? And that actually means a lot because the sales reps, they're building relationships with all these different retailers and bookstores and schools and libraries, and so they know what their clients want, right, and what they're most interested in. So if this salesperson says, hey man, I love this, right, then that's like it's like getting a gold star from Kirkus. So Margaret says, I love my editor Cody. I won't go to the grocery shopping unless he edits my list. I know, right? Seriously.
Cody's amazing. Yep.
Cody is amazing. Caroline says, love you, Peter. I would not leave you out. Well, hell yeah. Of course not. See? Now there's a whole bunch of like, I love Ben, I love Ben, I love Peter, I love Peter, as you should. Hell yeah.
Who edited Amy's book?
Who edited Amy's book? Oh, yeah. I did.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Of course he did. Awesome. That's great. That's great to hear.
It is good.
Yeah. Yep. Now, yeah, guys, just go out and pre-order that baby, Pocket Full of Teeth. It is it really is phenomenal. But now I have to look it up so I can give you a link to it. But one thing I just put in the chat. Oh wow, it's got all these like hits, which is pretty cool. I am actually going to start hosting a writer's coffee house starting in September. It'll be the second Sunday of every month at let me give you, here is a link to Amy's book. Please pre-order it. Actually, if you pre-order it, a lot of times it comes early. Like I actually had one author whose book doesn't come out until like, actually I think like mid-September, and one of the people who pre-ordered it already got it, which was just a goof on the distributors part, which is fine. But yeah, so you may actually get it early if you pre-order it. So but anyway, so back to the Writers Coffee House. So I will be hosting a Writers Coffee House in association with the Facebook page that I just sent you guys. Now, if you are not familiar with that Writers Coffee House, it is actually across the country. It typically is conducted in a bookstore. The one that I'll be holding in Pasadena, in Los Angeles, is actually going to be held at a coffee house that is in the front of Roman's Bookstore in Pasadena. So it'll be the second Sunday of every month from noon to 3. And the focus of it is more so the business of writing. So what we actually do is we go out to people, other people we know in other areas of the publishing industry, and ask them if they'll come out and just talk about like what their experiences have been in the previous month. What trends have they seen? All that kind of stuff. And then it's really great. It's great networking, but it's also a great way. I think every time I've gone to one, I've learned something I didn't know before, right? So, and I've met someone I didn't know before. So it's definitely worth it. If you're in the Los Angeles area, if you're in the Pasadena area, please join us. It'll be a lot of fun. It's usually a really good time. So I just wanted to put that out there. So now that I've just spoken for far too long, Peter, how you doing? What are you up to, young man?
I'm doing good. The writing's coming along. I'm really impressed with the author I've been working with on his third draft, fourth draft. It's amazing the changes that I make. Small suggestions, and the authors just make these wonderful, amazing changes across the entire book. Their talent is really unbelievable, and it just reminds me of how great our press is, because we pick these books because we see that spark in there, we see that seed in there, and one of our editors can bring it out and make it the amazing book that it is.
Oh, 100%, absolutely.
Other than that, I'm trying to sport my Ben look here with my hair being cut almost to the scalp. I have no hair left. So
when did that happen?
You're getting there.
This afternoon. It's never been shorter than this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That must be freaky.
It's very freaky, but it is what it is. That, and I went to the doctor, was prescribed more drugs that are legal and prescribed, so nothing fun there. But I'm alive and healthy, so I can still continue to cause trouble.
Yay! Which is our goal.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Caroline says, Peter, you look great. You do look great. So she nailed that one. It's funny what I used to cut my hair like pixie short, and then I would grow it all out, and then I would cut it pixie short, and then I'd grow it all out. And then when I met my husband and I went to go and get it cut pixie short, he had such a panic attack that I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not going to do that, So, and then more recently I was going to go do it. And one of my best friends I've known since I was like 2.5, she sent me a note saying, oh my God, if you cut your hair pixie short, then can you send me, like, she's like, I've always loved your hair, so then can you send me like some locks of your hair? And I was like, I can do that without cutting it pixie short. So anyway, the whole, I feel you on the whole, like, it really is freaky when you first just like virtually shave your hair off.
Well, I had to have hair this short in high school all 4 years, and it hasn't been short since then. And that was a couple of weeks ago, high school. So
2.
I've had it long ever since, and now I'm back to being short. So.
And how does the wife feel about it?
Oh, she likes it. I mean,
Yeah, she's like,
she likes the whole package. I'm lucky that way. So.
Yeah, yep. Absolutely.
Things are good.
Cool. Caroline says, alive and healthy is good. I agree. I
Mhm.
agree. And then she also used to have that pixie. I just think the pixie's fun because you just jump in the shower, you do it, you throw in a little something just so it doesn't go like, and then you're good, and that's it. It dries like that. But anyway,
Didn't Katie
so
Cuoco do that one time for a while?
who?
Katie Cuoco on Big Bang Theory, she had that cut.
Oh, I don't
Okay,
know.
I just googled it. It just okay.
Okay, I've never
Hey,
seen
look.
Big Bang Theory, so I have absolutely no idea. So, have you had a chance to start looking at the latest submissions?
Yeah, I looked at a couple that I really want to acquire, so I'm going to be pitching for those big time when we do the review.
Mm,
But I need to start going through them on a more regular basis, maybe 5 or 10 a night to get
mm.
comfortable with them. I mean, I know Ben knows all of them by now, so I got to keep doing some catch up.
I know we have a bunch.
Like
That's all
260,
I know.
265.
Yeah, we've got like, well, and like the second I said on something, oh, I just got through all our submissions. We got like 6 more. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, stuff being popular.
Yeah, it is. Well, we've got all. It's almost 300 now.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
across both. So, and I mean, there are some really, this is going to be really hard. We've got some really impressive submissions.
Cool.
Yeah, some that I don't think will take, like it'll be more of the collaboration will be more of just the editor kind of going through it and saying, wow, wow.
I want that one.
I want that one. And others will be like, what I feel like we're known for. We find the ones that have that spark, and then, just work with the author to get it to just elevate it. And we've got a lot of those too. So
Cool.
yeah, totally. Oh my gosh. And we're already at 5:32 Pacific time, 8:32 Eastern time. So guys, don't forget, feel free to go ahead and jump into the chat or comment section and go ahead, toss in your questions. We are more than happy to respond. So typically what will happen is I will speak out. I'll repeat the question. We'll take turns answering that question. And if you actually submit a question in the comments section when we're not live, you're just looking at a recording. It's not a big deal, honestly. All you do, put it in the comments section, and then what we'll do is we will respond in the subsequent Writers Coffee House. Fabulous. We'll respond in the subsequent Run Wild with Us, Ask Us Anything. I was going to tell you guys something else. So I told you about the Writers Coffee House. I told you about Amy's book. Oh, and don't forget, we are launching. So I'm co-launching with Teehee, who is one of our fabulous authors, who his short story collection was actually named one of the best of the year in, I think it was 2019 or 2020. We are launching a writer's retreat in Puerto Vallarta. And in order for you to have your work considered for it, then you need to submit it by, I believe the deadline is August 15th. Now that is going to come fast and furious, guys. Seriously, I think the submission is, I'm just looking up the link now. I believe it is August 15th to get your submission in. And then what's fabulous about this is we are actually renting out an entire spa. No joke. We are getting every single floor of this incredible well, not obviously not just a day spa. And what's the way we have structured this, and of course I'm not going to be able to find this now because I'm looking for it while we're talking, but what will happen, oh, here it is, yay. Sorry, I'm like, nope, that's wrong. So what'll happen is that we will go through all the submissions. Only 15 total will be accepted because it's only me, Teehee, and Cody are the 3 instructors, right? Each one of us are only going to have 5 people total in our classes because this is our first time out, right? So we want to make sure it's as intimate as possible. You get as much attention as possible. During the day, we will go through and workshop the piece, one piece per day, and then in the afternoon we're going to conduct some kind of class. This is only I think it's 3 or 4 days long, and it goes over a weekend, so it's like Thursday through Sunday, I believe. And then the retreat itself technically ends at like 5, but then that's when we get our party on, right? So that's when we'll do things like, you could do stuff in the spa, or maybe, go out to like a local happy hour, or a local restaurant, or a local bar. And Teehee lives in Puerto Vallarta, so he's already out there now cutting deals for us to have a phenomenal time in the evening. Hopefully we'll still be conscious enough so that we can be effective. But definitely check it out. So Brittany Bell says, sorry, since I just tuned in, where is the application information for submitting work to be considered for this retreat? Thank you for asking that. I am pulling it up now. It's actually on Eventbrite. If you search against Running Wild Writers Retreat, you should be able to find it. But of course, I'm not just going to leave you there with that. I am looking up the link now. One of the challenges with all this AI stuff is it autofills the absolutely incorrect thing. So I just typed in, I'm serious, I just typed in Puerto Vallarta and it autofilled Los Angeles. I'm like, no. Like, how do we get there? Come on, people. Anyway, so honestly, Brittany, it would be so fabulous to have you there. I think we would have an absolute fantastic time. Caroline says, what do you think about BookFest Awards? Lisa Margaret, I don't know. Bless you. Ben and Peter, are you guys familiar with the BookFest Awards?
Not specifically, no.
No,
so
I don't. I'm not familiar with them at all.
Okay. Well, BookFest Awards are awards that found it. Yay. Okay, let me give you. Okay, here is the link for the Running Wild Writers Retreat. Let me send this. Yeah, definitely send your work to us. Again, don't forget, you only have until, I believe it's August 15th, and we will be getting back to everyone before the end of August, before the end of August. So you've got time to make any kind of travel plans that you may need to make. So please, definitely don't miss this opportunity. This really is, it's the Marcella Resort and Spa. We're getting the entire spa will be ours. So, don't miss it. It's huge. And what's interesting is when, so Teehee came to me with this concept, and he actually did research on what are similar writing retreats. And out of curiosity, I looked up like what does Breadloaf cost and all that. Like Breadloaf, which is, I mean, I consider it to be an iconic writers retreat. That's like $4,000 now, right? And that doesn't include your submission price, because you have to pay to submit work for it. Ours, I mean, you pay to submit initially, and then it's basically $1,000 for a 4-day weekend, which is, again, that's pretty big. So okay, so explained all that. So going back to BookFest Awards. So BookFest Awards, BookFest is an online festival that is conducted a couple of times a year. And what they do is they go out and they actually recruit authors, editors, and publishers to teach something or to be interviewed or like do a Q&A. So they had a Q&A with me, I want to say like maybe a year or two ago, and I was interviewed by Jonathan Mayberry. Again, about like, how I got into publishing and, why we exist, right? Why does Running Wild exist? All that kind of stuff. And then they also have, as part of it, an awards. So authors are invited to submit their work to be considered to win a book award. Now, what's great about this is BookFest at this point, I think, is well known enough that if you are an unknown writer, and especially if your book hasn't been published yet or your story hasn't been published yet, it'll give you it's a nice additional cred, right? And if you're not really well connected within the publishing industry, BookFest is a great way for you to like, I guess you could say, virtually network and to be exposed to people from across multiple genres. So Caroline says, is it worth submitting your work? I would say if you're new, yes, absolutely, definitely submit your work. And I would say definitely like watch the workshops and the interviews and the recordings with all the different people from across various areas of the industry, because it can be quite helpful. If you are more established, I think honestly, I think you'd get a lot more out of it if you submitted for you to do a to teach. Because I think that you would get a lot more. It would help you with your credentials from that perspective. I just included a link to BookFest Awards on it. Now I was one of their keynotes for BookFest. I want to say it was like last year, and they still use that recording now for promotions. But yeah, I mean, I'd say again, if you're not a known author, and oh wow, I didn't realize this. They've been around since 2020. If you're not known, if you haven't really had your work published, if you're not well versed in the publishing industry and in creative writing, again, I think it's a great way for you to just learn a lot more. And it's free, by the way. The book, I believe, I'm just double checking this.
Is that the Writer's Digest book fair?
No, no, this is different.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with the Writer's Digest book fair.
I went to it a long time ago. Met a couple good writers there. I just never really. I went towards the was it? Oh my god! Went to the different magazine as opposed to the Writer's Digest. I didn't like their writing all that much. But one of the biggest things that I get out of the conferences and the festivals and all that is the networking potential, is the meeting of people. I mean, the greatest thing about my education from my master's degree was all the amazing, talented people that I met that I'm still in touch with, and I'm watching their succeed, blossom, and I'm watching other people, I'm cheering on other people. But you get to know this whole network, and you're a part of it. You're a part of the web. You're a part of the writing web. And some are poets, some are nonfiction writers, some are fiction writers, some are all three. But you know them. You had a personal connection. You experience something together, and you can use that just to have another soul out there that you've talked to that somewhat understands you. I mean, for me as a writer, I tend to be quiet and keep to myself a lot, but I force myself, or I encourage myself, to go out and just meet different people at these conferences, just to get to know more people in the industry, because everybody you meet is a better thing to have than not having met anybody, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally. What do you
Mhm.
think? What do you think, Ben, about things like this?
Absolutely. It's with, like you're saying, the network alone, and just the sharing of ideas. It's not a, you can come up with an idea that has nothing to do with what they've written, but something they said sparks it in you, and that you wouldn't otherwise be sparked. And
Mm,
and any spark is worth being around
Mm-hmm.
in this world of work. And and well, any creative, because it's, if you don't keep it fresh and innovative, it's going to disappear on you,
yeah.
and or you'll get stagnant and tired of it, of your own work, which is even bigger shame. So if you
Right.
can, and it doesn't, it doesn't have to be, well, Lisa wrote about werewolves, I'm going to write about werewolves.
Right.
It's great that that's spinning off into other people's idea and using the world that she's established and created. That's great, and that's part of the network there. But there's also other stuff coming out of there that is new
Mhm.
and different, and a different take on what she's written. For instance,
Well, and
everybody just emulate Lisa and we'll be fine.
yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Just pretend you're me. It's all good, right? And then the world's a better place.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's insane. Now, I mean, honestly, like when I was just at a writer's coffee house in San Diego, and there was a lot of discussion around like, is networking worth it? And you know, uh, I honestly, I think every opportunity where you get a chance to say hi to someone you've never met before is a positive,
Mm-hmm.
because you never know how that friendship or that relationship or what have you will blossom, right? Like Peter and I met at a conference I'm pretty sure it was in Florida, right? Like a
Tampa,
bajillion years ago.
Poets America's Conference, AWP,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, AWP, that's right. Like a bajillion years ago or 5 minutes ago, however you want to look at it.
You were
And
4 back then, I think.
I was 4 years old. And I like mentioned that I was starting this press, and I was like, hey, you should send us stuff. And I mean, here we are today, right? I mean, so you don't know. I honestly, I remember how I learned how to pitch effectively to like a mainstream agent, because I went to Breadloaf, and there was this like iconic agent there who it turned out one of her authors, who was one of the instructors, had learned from her like a formula for how to write how to do a pitch that at least that would be effective for her. Now, I mean, this was 5 minutes ago, so this specific agent is long retired, right? Like I think she retired all of like 2 years after the um, that Breadloaf, but um, by learning that formula, it helped me better understand what agents were really looking for when they were getting a submission, and what the focus should be, right? And like why they're asking for different things, because all of us like to say, when you get a submission form and it says, give us comps, all of us want to say, oh, no one's ever written anything like this before, this is completely unique. Well, I mean, sure, but the reality is, they're not asking that because they want to know how unique you are. They're asking that because they're trying to get a sense of what is it that you've published, and where does it fit in terms of categories, so that and like voice and so on, so that when they go to and is this something that would actually fit among the other works that they have and that they represent, right? It doesn't mean they're not going to read it. It just means it gives them a better sense of what the whole piece is. Because, believe it or not, and I totally own this, we ask for a full length work. I don't read the whole damn thing when we first do a submission. Usually, I'll read the first like 2 to 5 pages. I'll know within those first 2 to 5 pages if it's something that I think we should pick, right? And there are times that I'll maybe read the first 2 pages and I'll know it's a no because of the writing quality. If somehow they keep mixing up words like your and your or there and there, things like that, which means, to me, that means you haven't bothered to have somebody else take a look at it and help you strengthen your writing, you know. And also, and I don't know why this was a theme this year, the number of books that have prologues. Guys, for real, I'm gonna make you a bet. You probably don't need the prologue, especially if it's a mind dump, basically, right? Like a lot of times what happens is someone will write a work and they'll have done all this like homework and studying and research, and they'll have all this information in their head and they just really want to share it. And for whatever reason, that information didn't make it into the main body of the work, and they'll write a prologue or an epilogue. Do me a favor. Ask someone whom you love, but who will be honest with you, to read it. And if you need that prologue or if you need that epilogue, and if they say no, take it out. You would be shocked when you've got someone else read something like that, the number of times the voice changes dramatically between the prologue and the first chapter. I'd say it's like 80%. And to me, that's a red flag that you don't need that prologue. So, I don't know, Ben and Peter, what has been your experience with that?
I think it's got to add value. If you're gonna have it, make sure that it adds value, or if it does add that value, just put another date on it to show this has happened before the story starts, but it's important and it adds value. And don't call it a prologue. Call it, just date it as a front chapter to the story itself. But it's got to be connected. It's got to have purpose. It's got to have that value. If it's just this was the 80s and the Cold War was really cool, but here we go. But I think it's got to add that value, or especially if the voice changes, like Lisa says. If the voice changes and it's not contributing to the story, then take it out. Kill that darling.
Kill that darling.
Yep.
I don't know, Peter, what do you think?
I think it's a shortcut to what should actually be done, because you need to an exposition is really, really hard for writers to do. It's almost impossible for most television shows and movies to do, because they got to fill in this information. But for writing, you can find a way to fit these elements into the story as a whole, make them natural without having to say, okay, well, this is what's going on. The Cold War was happening and it was cool. Okay, how do I make that work within the story? How do I put the reader there without, because the prologue keeps them outside the story. They're not in the chapter one yet. They're reading a summation of what the author thinks the reader needs to know to understand their story. Well, don't take the shortcut. I mean, do the actual work and fold it into the plot as you roll along, and bring the reader in with you, as opposed to distancing yourself from them at the very beginning. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody watching, if you got any questions around that, please go ahead and pop those questions into the comments section, because we would love absolutely to hear from you and get your thoughts on it. So,
and play with it. In the Recon trilogy, +1.
I still like that title. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, it's built quadrilogy.
Exactly.
El Dorado is one of the points in there, and El Dorado starts off with scenes. It's got acts, scene 1, and then it goes to act 1, and then it goes to prologue 1, and then later on prologue 2. But it's not at the beginning. It's of course it's poetry, so it can play around a little bit more. but it's not linear. By design, it wasn't linear. I didn't want it to be linear. I wanted it to jump around and show this is what people were thinking about in these scenes and how they got there and how it intertwined into the overall story. That's Peter's point. It's got to be, if it can be intertwined into the story, you don't need to label it epilogue or prologue. But that work had 6 or 7 epilogues. Just because it could. That's why.
Exactly.
Caroline says, yes, Peter, that makes sense. Too much backstory, and that can be a prologue. You know, it's funny. Like I think too, oftentimes, like we'll go into writing something, and either while we're writing it or when we're going into it, we know, like, you know, this is an important theme in the story, right? Well, if you've got an important theme, like let's say, you know, community, you don't have to tell people this is about community. You show that it's about community. You
Show the damn
demonstrate.
community.
Exactly, right. You demonstrate it. And that is 1,000 times more effective, although there is no such thing. But than just saying this is a book about community, and so if you're into community, you should read this book. No. You need to just do it. Make it happen. Tell the story, right? So Caroline's like, incorporate it. Again, it goes back to the whole, like, oftentimes as writers, we have a tendency that when we're done writing something, we feel like we need to, like, state certain things or share additional information or whatever. And the reality is, if it didn't fit in the story, if, you know, if it's in essence a statement, like a summary, then and it's already you've already demonstrated it, it's already an integral part of the story, you don't need it, right? Maybe write it down and then edit that baby out. So, oh my gosh, we only have 3 minutes left. I don't know, guys, is there anything else that you want to talk about while we've got people held at video point?
I am working through the short stories. I think we've got 127, but some have been withdrawn, so it may not be that many. But working through the short stories for anthology number 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And 8 is scheduled for 7 is scheduled for, I think, October this year. Then 8 will be October next year, and 9 is 26 already.
Got it. Yeah, I've done 8 for, I've already got the novellas through 2025. Mm-hmm. So I've got a little bit of time before I'm going to start working on the edits for 2026, which I believe that is 9.
Yeah, because they're working together.
Yeah, exactly.
The anthologies are numbered together.
Yeah. So, but I'm really excited about it because we've got like 100 already. It's between Running Wild and Rise. So this should actually be kind of, like I said, I'm really looking forward to it. It looks like we've got some really decent ones. But because I'm writing the short story, then I have to start working on the 3rd in the Cure series, and the 2nd book in Cure, Family Pack, comes out October 3rd. So I'll be doing some appearances, and we're working on concert tees, not just for Family Pack, but for any of our books that are going to be coming out, where the authors, like, they'll be at AWP and they'll be at Comic-Con and they'll be at Breadloaf or whatever, right? Just kind of, so like we're kind of rocking out our rock and roller persona a bit more. So I may be sporting some of our concert tees in the upcoming months, and you two may be receiving some.
I was looking at them last night. I think they're cool. I have a couple ideas to pitch. Based
cool.
on the concert tees that the concert tees I've picked up over the years, but no, I think it's a great concept. I really do. So.
Yeah, and thumbs up, total cred to Joelle for coming up with it, because
Absolutely.
yeah, she like showed it to me and I was like, oh my God, that's freaking brilliant. We have to do concert teas. Like, that's so us. You know what I mean? Like, it's totally us. So,
Yep.
all right. Well, anyway, with that, thank you guys. As always, you are absolutely phenomenal. Huge thanks, as always, to Ben and Peter, who are, in my mind, like part of the backbone of Running Wild and Rise. Margaret, Caroline, Cree, Brittany. Oh my gosh, you guys are all so incredible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. CJ, oh, so awesome to see you. Everyone who's joined, even if you didn't say anything, if you didn't text us, it's all good. Thank you for joining us. If you've got any thoughts or any questions during the week, go ahead, pop it in the comments, and we will respond. With that, love you guys, and we will see you next week. Ciao.
Next week.